Alright, so now that we got all this apart, we can take our wire wheel and clean out the surface here. This is just beautifying this back bit, but the main thing is we want this down to bare metal. There we go. Now let's get the new rotor to put on. Alright, so let's put this stupid thing on. So, take our rotor out. We're going to slip it over top of the hub and line it up on the other side with the holes, where we're going to take our 4 bolts. Line them up and bolt them in. There we go. And last one. There we go. So now all we need to do is clean up the inside bore of the steering knuckle. Right inside here. You probably can't see it. Then we're going to remarry these two. Alright, so before we renew our wedding vows here, give the back side of the rotor a good cleaning because we won't be able to get to it very easily. So I'm just using some mineral spirits. Clean that off. Now let's try not to touch it. Now we're going to take a little bit of anti-seize and slop it on here. So when this couple wants to separate again, temporarily, we don't have to worry too much about it. So flip it over, oops, no, that's not right. Just set the knuckle down on top, like that. Make sure that all the holes line up. Then we'll put a dab of anti-seize on these bolts. And then we'll just run them down. I've recently graduated with my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. There's not a single chance I'll ever design something as bad as this. But it makes me money, so I guess I just deal with the frustration. Now, I'm not tightening it right down. What we're going to do is we're just going to snug down each corner. This ball joint looks really bad. What we're doing is we're pulling the bearing back up to its lip. And we'll get these 2 cross bolts here. Well, this one actually didn't come out too hard, supposedly. A little harder than the other one, but apparently these things really don't like to come out. Oh god, they better be happy with this, because I'm sure it's not. Hell, I'm not happy with doing this job anymore. Alright, now that's all done, let's move back to the car. So, now time to remarry the steering knuckle and the control arms. So, first thing we want to do is we want to line the hole in our ball joint so that it's straight back. So the CD axle in, and just kind of in one fell swoop, just try to renew everyone's vows at once. Pardon the marriage puns. Alright, so notice that we have a shorter and a taller castellated lock nut. The shorter one goes on the upper ball joint. So don't forget about that. And there it pops again, so now I'm going to have fun doing it back up. There we go. Tighten her up. And we'll tighten it until, again, the whole matches. Just a hair more. There we go. Now the hole for the cotter pin lines up perfectly. Pretty much. There we go. Alright, next thing we're going to do is put the tie rod back in. Once again, make sure everything lines up. Now, we can put our cover, nope, not yet. Need cotter pin first, I gotta run to the parts store for that. Okay, so when you put your cotter pin in, slide it through, and bend the tab. You don't have to bend both, you can only bend one if you want, but just ensure that it's not going to pop back out, because this is the safety feature that's holding your suspension system together. So once again, just kind of make sure that everything's a-okay. So again, the bolt up here is 10 millimeter. Okay, now for the caliper mounting bracket. Now before we throw this guy on, make sure that we put a little bit of lubricant on, a little bit of anti-seize on all these slider points here. Ooh, oops. Did an okay job on the brakes, but not like I would have done it. So make sure we clean off the front of the rotor before we go any further here. No, don't touch the rotor now that we've done that. These are 17 millimeter. What's more? Going to loosely thread the hub nut on for now, just so we don't forget it. So now we're going to bring the caliper over, and of course I forgot the brake pads. It's very, very important. Set them in. And set the caliper down on top. Now, if you didn't push the piston back a little bit when you first took the brakes off, then you're probably going to have to, because, like I said, you just push the brakes, you just put a thicker rotor on. So, remember that the order that the sliders go in. Snug up the bolt, and then we're going to lubricate the other one. It seems like these were pre-lubricated from the remanufacturer, but no harm in lubricating them again. So just before I get everything finally done up, I'm going to double check that these mounting bracket bolts are tight. And don't forget your two 10mm bolts that hold the brake line onto the knuckle. That's kind of important. And don't forget about your other cotter pins too. Okay, so now the moment's finally come where we can put the wheel back on once all the pins are in place and everything else. And everything's double checked. So I got lucky because two of these lug nuts don't have the little plastic pieces that keep the wheel cover on. Otherwise you have to lift the vehicle back up to take the wheel back off. If I could find my impact gun, that would be really nice. There it is, hiding. Alright. So now, we take wherever the hell I put the... Okay, now we're going to jack the vehicle back up. Take the jack stand out. I could probably take it on both sides. Drop the vehicle to the ground. And there's a bottle of solvent under there, so best to get that out. Drop the vehicle right down to the ground. And we're going to take our huge breaker bar. Now we're going to tighten down the nut until the indented part is now at the little keyway here. And then what you do is you take a chisel and a hammer. This is a bit of a pain in the ass because it's upside down, but this nut's kind of wrecked, so, but you get my point. And then what we do is we take our seal cover, put that there, the two with the wheel cover keepers. There we go. Now all we have to do is torque the wheels on. We'll take it for a test drive. Take it for a test drive. Probably get this out of here. I gotta say, when somebody said, oh, just replace the rotors in a Honda, I thought, oh goody, that's an easy job. It is a 5-speed, so before we go, pump the brakes a couple times. These Hondas run awfully fast when they're cold. I do not know why it is doing that, but this car is a little soft. Make sure that the brakes work. This clutch is awful. It chatters like hell. Holy cow. Braking okay. Still idling like crap. Maybe once the motor warms up a bit. This car's got 401,000 kilometers on it. She's still got some pep to her though. Dakota cut me off. It's nice. Make sure there's no shimmying or shuddering in the wheel. Steering wheel's nice and straight, which is a good sign. Brakes aren't pulling. Oh, the clutch of this thing's awful. It's so chattery. It doesn't feel like a performance clutch, but it's probably just got oil all over it. Mind you, the amount of miles in this car. There we go, now she's idling a little nicer. Hondas have some weird cooling system, like there's a coolant bypass tube. But once it heats, or when it's cold, it allows more air into the engine, more fuel or whatever, and allows it to run faster. And those commonly go bad, so I'm gonna say that's probably the reason why it idles like crap when it's cold, but we're almost at operating temperature and it's idling perfectly. Clutch grab's a little lower than it does in the Dakota, that's for sure. It's definitely very chattery. I'm sure that there's some oil on the clutch disc from the... Yeah, she's still got plenty of life left here, though. This thing really goes. 401,000, but man, if you take care of these things, they'll last for an awfully long time. Jesus. It's not even VTEC, she hauls ass. Brakes feel good, that's the most important thing. I don't hear any weird noises when turning. Whoever thought of this style should be shot. Probably that's why they stopped. There's fifth gear. It's probably why they stopped making them like that. But hell, it's probably good on gas, better than the Dodge. It pulls a little to the left, but I'm probably going to say that it was doing that before. This car is like really old. It's as old as I am, 1990. 24 years old. It looks like the guy takes pretty decent care of it, other than the fact that it's pretty dirty. Nice hard braking on it. Yeah, I'd be pretty happy letting this thing move. Clutch is actually making a lot of noise, almost like one of the springs is broken. Alright, so let's wrap this one up. As you can tell by the condition of my hair and the grease on my body and everything else, wherever it is, you can tell this is a pretty crappy job. So unless you have the tools, stay the hell away from it. That's the bottom line. It's pretty rough. I mean, I don't even know. I haven't even seen this style until today. So definitely it's a very, very difficult job, especially if you don't have some decent tools. So like I said, for the average do-it-yourselfer, this is going to be a pretty tough job, so you might want to just bite the bullet and leave it to a professional. That's my honest opinion. I hope you learned something, even though if you didn't use it for working on your own vehicle, I hope that you learned from this, because it sucks. It sucks. Anyway, this car is a bit of a pig pen, so I'm going to clean it up for them and get it all nice and shiny. I'm 6Speed Dakota. You can follow me at facebook.com/6Speed Dakota, Twitter at 6Speed Dakota, Google plus 6Speed Dakota. Thank you for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. I didn't exactly enjoy making it, but I hope you got some learning out of it. Take it easy, everyone.